College! Asad! First!
Our principal, on behalf of staff, students, Governor of the Punjab, and other members of the board, will lay the leave.
College! Oh! Shut! College! Asad! First!
Chief Guest, Lieutenant General Khalid Nawaz Malik, UMG, Pakistan Army, on behalf of Port Galleons Associations of Pakistan and UK, will lay the leave.
College! Oh! Shut! College! Asad! First!
Now, syllabus and tarjuma by textbook voice.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة إن الله مع الصابرين. ولا تقولوا لمن يقتل في سبيل الله أموات بل أحياء ولكن لا تشعرون. آمنت بالله صدق الله العظيم. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, O ye who believe, seek help with patient perseverance and prayer. For Allah is with those who patiently bear, and say not to those who are slain in the way of Allah. They are dead, nay, they are living, but ye perceive not.
Now, I request on as Chief Guest to say a few words.
Nur Muhammad, Principal, Honors College, members of the Honors College faculty, my dear young brothers, Assalamu alaikum. It's a very great honor and privilege for me to be here with you today and to have been asked by the principal, my old teacher, to be the chief guest on this wreath-laying ceremony on the memorial of our old colleagues. I say old colleagues because many of the names on this memorial will strike a chord. We were here together. Major Brother Shah Shaheed was my prefect in what is Jinnah and what was Walker House at that time. Lieutenant Habibur Rahman, I knew because we were together in battle in the Lahore sector. Captain Zahurul Islam was my classmate. We were from the same batch in the army, and we were skilled in action just nearby. Lieutenant Mushtaq Alam Khan, I do not recall having met him, but certainly I do recall his name. Major Sabit Kamal Mir was killed in action in East Pakistan. He was also one of our prefects, 3 years my senior. Again, Walker House, Jinnah House. Lieutenant Tahir Ashraf and Captain Ijaz Azam, I would not be able to recall personally, but I do know, or did know, Lieutenant Zafar Ali Akbar. His father was from my battalion, his elder brother was from my battalion, and Zafar I knew was a small boy, grew up to be a very fine officer, but then fate took him away at a very young age. Lieutenant from the Pakistan Navy, Ahmad Imtiaz, Sergeant Leader Arif Manzoor. I've heard the name. I do not, of course, recall having met them. Nonetheless, there is an association, that invisible but very strong association that is there between an old galleon and a new galleon. I'm glad the college at some stage decided to erect this war memorial and to honor those who had laid down their lives while fighting for the defense of Pakistan. I do not intend giving a very long speech, and therefore I jotted down a few points just to put them across to you. Today you stand here, I'm sure many of you in the future would be there leading troops in battle for the honor, the integrity, solidarity, and for the defense of our country. Just to give you a very brief background, I think it's essential because we're talking of the 65 war today. It's so easy to forget that it was not very long ago, and the period of 140 or 50 odd years is not much. Do you remember our school is almost 150 years old now. It was just that period, around that period, that the Muslims were the rulers of what is the subcontinent today. We lost an empire because of our own mistakes, which I don't have to go into. And it was 50 years back that on the principle or two principles our country came into existence. One, that the Muslims of the subcontinent are a separate nation, separate to the Hindus and others. And two, that the area which will form Pakistan would be the Muslim majority areas which are contiguous, that is close to each other, next to each other. I am highlighting this because it was this very principle that was violated by the enemy right at the inception, at the birth of Pakistan. The state of Jammu and Kashmir, a Muslim majority area, which nobody can deny, even today is a Muslim majority area, is the state where the Indians, they sent their forces, and that was the time that the population of what is today Azad Kashmir, the people of Kashmir, rose in revolt and assisted by some units of the Pakistan Army were able to liberate the area which we call Azad Kashmir today. It was when we were closing onto Srinagar back in 48, 49 that the Indians were the ones who took the matter to the United Nations Security Council, where it was agreed upon that there will be a plebiscite and the people of the state themselves would vote for one or the other. I've given this background because the Indians went back on their words as usual. A few years later, in the 62 war, when India attacked some of the border areas of China, it was an excellent occasion for Pakistan to just walk into Kashmir. It was again on the promise of the Indians that after that war there would be talks and the plebiscite would be arranged. That was the reason that Pakistan did not attack. Immediately after the war, once again the Indians went back on their word. I've given you this very brief background to what led to the 65 war. That was the time that Pakistan realized that India would not stand by its commitments and it was time to take military action. Our forces and the people of the state infiltrated into many areas which are or were dominated by the or under the control of the Indians, and it was at this time that without a formal declaration of war, the Indians attacked across the international border, and the first attack on the 6th of September, that is today, 33 years ago, that the 65 war began. I would like to mention here with a lot of pride that Allah gave me the opportunity personally, and I say it with a lot of pride, a coincidence or whatever, that I had the privilege, the honor to have participated in the first battle for Pakistan on the 6th of September 1965 in the Lahore sector. I just want to tell you that the enemy had a lot of aircraft, they had a lot of infantry, they had a lot of tanks, they had a lot of artillery guns. As compared to us, their strength was much more. The first attack in the morning, it was around 6 o'clock roughly. The second attack by the enemy was roughly around 7:30. And the third attack even more ferocious than the first or the second. This was around this time. I can assure you it was a very, very difficult situation. The enemy superiority, to an extent our lack of preparedness, their achieved surprise also. When we talk of the defense of Pakistan, we take it for granted. Let me also mention to you that very few people realize that how easily things could have gone wrong. And this is where I would like to lay my emphasis, that in battle, it is not the numbers which count, but it is your ability and your will. It is your ability and your will to face the enemy. Well, we had that inner strength, I take it, with lesser men, with lesser material, with lesser aircraft, with lesser tanks, lesser infantry. Not only did we defeat those attacks on the first day, but it was a continuous, I would say, a running battle almost for 17 days and nights. We were fighting, and it was during that period that when I look back, I think perhaps individually, personally, to an extent also I can say for the others who were with me at that time, I was only a young officer, a subaltern, lieutenant, but I can say with a lot of pride that I think what carried me along was the motto, never give in. And that is the motto which should sustain you through life. There would be difficult situations, and there could not be a more difficult situation than I think we faced on the 6th of September against a vastly superior enemy. At the end of the war, we had more area captured, more casualties on the enemy, more enemy tanks and aircraft destroyed, and the enemy's will broken. And a young Pakistan was able to prove itself worthy of living with pride with its head high. I've said these words because I think there is that gallant spirit which carries you through difficult situations, and you must remember that. I'll just say a few words more. I don't want to go into more details of other wars, but what really I would like to put across that the environment that we have and that you have today in Lawrence College, the area where it is, the kind of traditions that you have, the kind of training and grooming that you have, it is all a training for leadership. The kind of initiative that a galleon is allowed to develop. I'm saying allowed to develop because many institutions in our normal education system, they perhaps do not permit the development of initiative in students. I say with a lot of conviction that I don't think there's any institution in Pakistan better than Lawrence College to produce military leaders who will have the honor and privilege to command men in battle. Last time that I was there, I read on the board a very old saying, and if I can recollect it correctly, it has been there for years. I remember it was there when I was there, and that was something like that: a galleon never or tells a lie. Now, I'm sure many other students or many other institutions would be teaching the same to their students, and I would be surprised if there's any institution which does not. But I think the difference lies in what follows, and that was that nor does a Gallian tolerate anyone who does so. And that is where the Gallian spirit comes in. If we were to look at our problems in the last 50 years, at all levels, it's not only the question of cheating or stealing or telling lies, but I think the willingness of many in our country to accept people doing this is what makes the difference between us as Gallians and others. Not to tolerate is the hallmark of the leader. Not to tolerate anyone cheating, stealing or telling a lie. Just analyze this in your own time, and I would ask the members of the faculty to help the youngsters to analyze this. I think all our problems are summed up in these two sentences. And all our problems can literally go away if these two sentences are understood and acted upon by each of us. In the end, I would like to say that Lawrence College, over the years, has given the armed forces as a whole, that is Army, Navy and Air Force, and Army in particular, excellent officers who proved their worth both in peace as well as in war. With the kind of environment, as I mentioned earlier, the kind of training that a Gallian gets, the kind of opportunity that you have in life, and I can assure you, majority of our youngsters do not get this opportunity. I call upon you to consider joining the armed forces in general and the army in particular. It's a profession where you can continue living up to the traditions and the spirit of a Gallian and the traditions of the college. With these few words, I would like to once again thank each one of you who is here today. I would like to thank the principal, members of the faculty, once again for having honored me by asking me to be the chief guest and laying the wreath on behalf of the old Gallians of Pakistan and UK. I must mention, of course, that along with me, you find an officer in uniform. I brought him along because he's also an old Gallian. He was there from 1971 to 79. And I've also brought somebody who's not in uniform, a civilian. He's my brother-in-law. He's essentially based in the UK and presently working in Austria. And although he came only for a couple of days and he's leaving tonight, but the moment he heard that I'm coming here, he also said he wanted to come. So he's also with us here today, and I think to that extent the Gallians Association of UK is well represented. Thank you very much once again. I wish you all the best in your studies over here. Remember, what counts ultimately in life, and particularly in battle, is the character that you form over here, the character that you build over here in school, and the intellectual superiority, which is a prerequisite for a leader. Put these two things together and you have the definition of a Gallian. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहिल्लज़ी हदाना लिहाज़ा वमा कुन्ना लिनहतदिया लौला अन हदाना अल्लाह रज़ियल्लाहु अन्ना सय्यदना मुहम्मदन व आलिहि रब्बना आतिना फिद दुनिया हसना व फिल आखिरति हसना व क़िना अज़ाबन नार व अदखिलना जन्नत मअल अबरार या अज़ीज़ या गफ़्फ़ार। इलाहुल आलमीन तमाम शुहदाए इस्लाम ख़ुसूसन कॉलेज के शुहदा जिन्होंने अपनी जानों के कीमती नजराने पेश करके हमारे मुल्क की तारीख में रोशन नाम पैदा किया है, उनके दर्जात को बुलंद फरमा, उनकी शहादतों को कबूल फरमा और उनकी रोशन मिसालों को नस्ल नौ के लिए मशर-ए-राह बना, नौजवान तलबा में वो जज्बा और वो तलब पैदा फरमा जिसके ज़रिए से ये मुस्तक़बिल का अच्छा उन्वान बन सकें और मुल्क का नाम रोशन करें और अपने इदारे के लिए एक नामी का जरिया बने। इलाहुल आलमीन मुल्क अजीज़ को दाखिली खारजी फितनों से बचा, हर तरह की शुरू से हिफाजत फरमाए, जुग़राफियाई और नज़रियाती सरहदात की हिफाजत फरमाए, मुल्क अजीज़ पाकिस्तान को इस्तेहकाम अता फरमाए, हर किस्म की तरक्की अता फरमाए। वसल्लल्लाहु अला नबील करीम व अला आलिहि व सहबिहि अजमईन बिरहमतिका या अरहमर राहिमीन।
Oh, shut!